Welcome to the Global Icon, André MOGUAI. It's nice to have you here today.
Thank you. Happy to be here. And you're Rob Green.
I'm Rob Green, yes, broadcasting from Manchester, from my mum's house, and this is the only room in the house where it's quite quiet to have a nice chat. Otherwise, in the studio, it's quite loud. So.
And you look so looks like the
flowery.
Summer.
Yes, just for you.
Beautiful, because I arrived. I think 4 days. I arrived here in Germany, back from LA. So I'm very. I feel very, in California, whatever, on the California side with your shirt.
Yeah, thank you very much. I tried to make you feel like you're back in the States where the sun shines.
And I've seen you've done a lot for Germany, right?
Yes, I live in England and in Germany. I grew up in the UK, but went to school in Germany. Lived in Berlin from 1993 to 2004. And I keep flying over from the UK to Germany and back and everything, which is quite hard at the moment. But for example, I entered the UK like 1 day before I was supposed to arrive. So I had to wait for a PCR test. It should have come on Thursday. It came today. So I had to put it in an envelope, take it to the post office, and then it's going to get sent to the laboratory. So I'm like in quarantine officially right now. But I've had all my jabs and everything, but it's just the way it is in the UK right now. Yeah, and I think the last time I saw you was at World Clubdom Winter in Düsseldorf, I think, where you played there.
Yeah.
But that was like the last festival that I actually did with the guy we've got someone we both know, Bernd Breiter, who does World Clubdom. Me and Bernd go back quite a long way. So it was always nice to see you on stage with the young kids doing their EDM and you doing the proper music. It was, it's amazing. So this is for me, really exciting because I followed your career like the last 20, 30 years, and it's a lot's happened. I mean, I remember playing at a radio station in Frankfurt, and I had a song on the playlist called Dial M for MOGUAI. And I'm like, who's this MOGUAI guy? We started to read about it and play your song. And I mean, oh my God, I don't know where to start this interview really, because I mean, you're the pioneer. You're like, I don't know, you're like Michael Jackson of EDM in Germany, and it's amazing.
I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that. But
okay,
some people think so.
Yeah. Let's start at the very beginning. You grew up in the like commercial area of Germany, the Ruhrgebiet it's called, where a lot of steel and coal works are. How did you start getting into music and doing it professionally? Was it something you always did as a child, and your parents said you're good, continue it?
No, not at all. So I come from a butcher family, and my parents, they were like, okay, you have to go on with this business. So I had to learn it, and I did. And then I went back to school because my sister, she said to me, hey, this can't be everything. You don't want to end up here your whole life. So I went back to school, started studying law, and but I didn't get any support anymore for my family, for my father, especially because he was pretty pissed that I did something else. And so, I had to take care of myself. I had to take care of my own. So I started with playing little techno parties for small amount of money, but this was enough to survive and to study. And then it became more and more due productions and so on. And then I had my first top 40 hit with a Dial M for MOGUAI track.
Yes.
And then I decided to live this unserious professional way. And it's a long time ago. And but I was always in between. I thought like, should I go back, studying, how is it sure to do that? Because it wasn't common to work as a DJ or producer during these times. For sure, there were some acts which were very popular, but for me, it started very slow, and I had a tough time to to get really feedback and to get it rolling in a good way. So it took some time, and so now I'm doing it for such a long time.
I mean, you were playing like the raves as well in Berlin, and that was an amazing time. You know, middle of the 90s in Berlin, there were like parties that I really enjoyed being in Berlin in the 90s. I mean, we had the big parties like the Love Parade and things like that, but we had the small clubs like Tresor or Bunker or things like that. What was that like for you growing up in Berlin in the 90s and playing your music in Berlin? That must have been such a vibe. It's probably one of the best things in your life, actually.
Yeah, it was. I didn't live there at this time. I moved there later on for a few years. I lived there, but I would never do it again because it's not the town for me or city to live. So it's an adventure city, and when it comes to techno music, I always say it's like an adventure city for adults who really likes to celebrate to techno music, because it's like it's a fun place, and when you stay there for a short time, it's really, you can have the best time of your life or the
worst
terrible time of your life. It depends on where you go and what you do, and but it's like this time was very special because as you mentioned, there were these big raves in Halle Weißensee in Berlin with the Mayday, and then I played during Love Parade, for example. I think it was not the last one, but almost the very last one in Berlin. And then after the floats came all together at the Brandenburger Tor, there I played one of the very last sets. There's only a handful of people who are allowed to do that, and so I did. And at that time, I played for 750,000 people. It's crazy when you think of these numbers.
I was there.
And then after this, the party, the real party starts, because during that night, I think I played 6 shows in one city during Love Parade. So until Sunday afternoon. So and every party was sold out, and it was crazy. It was really like it was a different way of celebrating this music.
I remember the legendary Dr. Motter. I don't know if anybody who's watching knows this guy. He's a genius, and he's also very, very different. Let's put it that way. And I remember him on stage talking into the microphone, and I was like thinking, is he drunk or what's going on here? And it was just such a flash. I mean, good God. I mean, that for people that would, because of what happened, there aren't any Love Parades anymore. There was a bad accident in Germany which caused it to stop, but that was such a wicked time. I mean, we partied like 3 days long, and if you were playing like 6 gigs in one city in one evening, that must have been mad.
Amazing. It was amazing time. And it was this rave culture, when people really it was like, when you wasn't up for 80s sound or 90s sound, then then this whole scene blew up, very slowly, but then bam, it was there. And then it was like, okay, when you really dig it, you go to these parties, and you travel for this in Germany. You go to Frankfurt, to Ulm, to hear Sven Väth, or you go to Cologne for the Warehouse, and also music-wise, it was a interesting time. There was that time we didn't have so much boundaries music-wise, so it was only is it fun or not fun, and then after that it really starts with, okay, this is tech house, this is techno,
yes.
And then it became more specific. But during these times, there was only techno, house, or trance. So and some people mixed it. Like I grew up with listening to Sven Väth, and I really admired him at that time because he always mixed just good music. Not like, okay, I have to stick to this or to this. It was always a nice conversation and a nice journey. And this is what I'm keeping up since today.
Do you guys have like a club in Berlin, like a special place where everyone meets that's in this kind of business, like Westbam, Paul Kalkbrenner, Paul van Dyk? Do you guys hang out together, or is that a myth?
Today, nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, just to get together and celebrate the music you do. No.
Not at all.
I thought there might be like a gentleman club somewhere in Berlin that no one knows about and everyone gets
That would be
together.
great. This would be great. So we are all kind of connected and not. So when someone wants to hit up someone, so yeah, you could do it, but no, there's no real, you know, all the names you mentioned, I haven't seen them for ages.
Okay. So let's get back to the music. I mean, you started with for MOGUAI, you did the song with Phil Fodner. The top 10 Tomorrowland songs of all time is mammoth, is in the top 10 that you did. I mean, what happened after, you know, the first couple of songs that were successful? How did it explode?
Which one?
Everything. I mean, you've worked with the biggest names on the planet. I mean, do they bang on your door and say, have you got time to produce with me? Or how does it happen?
No, I did it. Every collaboration, you know about me, I did it on my own. So I always connected them. So there was never like that someone really, Dimitri Vegas and Mike, they hit me up and they asked for a collaboration. And at that time I did my first records on Mousetrap, on that Mouse label. And I said, because I looked them up and I said, like, oh no, I couldn't do that because they are so far away from what I'm doing. And I denied, I think 5 or 6 or 7 times working with them together. Because I said, no, it doesn't work. You know, there's no, what should we do? I said, you know, it's like, I wasn't, music-wise, we were on the different radar. So, but then I thought like, okay, they do this and I do this. And then there was one track from, I think, Dada Life of Wolfgang Gartner, which I played. And this was kind of EDM-ish and it was, but not cheesy way. And I thought like, okay, we could do that. So let's try to find a melody and work it out that way. And then we got this melody and we finished the track. But then no one wanted to sign it. So I offered it, for example, at that time I played in India, in Delhi with Afrojack, and I played before Afrojack and we hang out backstage and I said, hey, I have a track I did with Dimi and Mike. And he said, I played to me. I said, no, this is whatever. I don't like it. Not for my label war. And then I sent it to X where he denied it. So different names. And then it somehow it made the way to this after movie from this Tomorrowland, and then people saw it, listened to it, and then I got whatever 10 calls a day from different companies because I took care of dealing it to a record company. So yeah, long story short.
Yeah, but I mean, those are big names. And I mean, I've met Nick Afrojack. We've chilled together at World Club Dome Korea. When you think back how you started, and you're talking to people like Axwell, to Afrojack, to Demi and Mike, did you think that you would ever get that big?
Myself?
Yes.
My goal always was to become as big as Tanit. I don't know if you remember Tanit. Tanit was a Berlin techno DJ, and he played a few times before me when I lived in the Ruhr area. And he was really like a tall guy, dressed in camouflage, had big dreadlocks. You know, he looked like whatever. He came directly from the war zone. You know, and he played straight techno, and he was a big name in the 90s when I started DJing, and I always become as big as him. So, and I always wanted to be booked by a promoter from New York. And then I reached everything, but it took a while. And now I'm just keep going and doing what I like. And some people say it's successful. I think it's the beginning of successful because I have other goals. So I keep on going.
What would those goals be?
Doing better tracks, more successful, more creative. Doing mixing styles, what no one else did before. So, yeah.
You're also doing management, MOGUAI Management. Mm-hmm. So why did you decide to move in that direction? Just to give maybe the new people possibilities that you had as growing up in the music business? Give a bit back what you got.
You gave the answer. That's
Okay.
that's the only reason, because some people say, okay, you have a lot to do, you know, why do you start with that? But Steffi Sauer, she is taking care, she's managing comedians in Germany, very successful over 15 years. She did Kaya Jana and Olli Pocher and all the names, and Markus Krebs she's working with him super close since I think 11 years. And she hit me up and said, okay, you are who you are, and why don't we do business together and manage new artists? And I said, yeah, why not? Because I know almost everyone in the scene, from record companies to producers to DJs and so on. Why not using it? And yeah, and this is so when someone is watching it out there, please hit us up at on MOGUAIManagement.com, because we always look for new talents. They don't have to be successful, because all the guys we have on our roster, they're not successful, not yet. But yeah, but it could happen. So they have all the opportunities, they have all the talent, but you never know. But
what do you look for? What you know, if you get to meet a young producer or a young DJ, what's the first question you ask to find out how they are? Who would you take and who would you not take?
First of all, I'm not into this young business. They are young right now. They are younger than me, but they could also older than me. When they have something to tell, when they have whatever standing for something nice, we sign them, and then we try to help them, because it's like it's not only it's not on his side from the talent side, it's also from the management company, because we have really like and we have a mission, you know, and we want to complete it, and we only can complete this message when we have something to tell. So it's a give and take. So and also like when it doesn't work out. So when I feel okay, he's great, but I can't help him, then it's not the right team. You know, it has to work on both sides.
So you're very, very ehrlich, honest, very honest. You would never say to someone, you know, I'll make a start out of you, and you know deep down it's not going to work.
No, we denied a couple of artists. So we start working with them, and then, you know, in the very beginning they had different ways of thinking, that it goes like this, or no, I can't do that because I'm too cool, you know, for this. But they did nothing, you know, they stand for nothing, and said like, hey, you know, step back, and you know, if you don't want to do it, it doesn't, you know, I did so much in my life, and for sure, and some things are paying off and some not. So most stuff is not paying off, but you never know.
Have the DJs and producers changed over the years? Are they more into the Instagram and the YouTube channels? Like, I have to look pretty and I have to do a good, I mean, you know, DJs that I've worked with, they ask, why do I have to play in this small club? Why can I not play on the main stage at Tomorrowland? Like, I'm thinking, you've not understood something correctly there, sir. You know, do you ever get to meet people like that?
I worked with one guy in the Ruhr area, and I stopped working with him because we did a couple of tracks and they were kind of successful. And then he said like, hey, we're working together. Because of that, I don't have to talk to these people or to do this and this and that. For what? Yeah, because I'm famous, we're working together. And I'm like, I said, no. This is not the way it works. So, and then I you know, we split ways. So yeah, but some are like this, you know, they grew up with this shit. Sorry to say that, but and then they think, okay, this is a world. It is the new world, but it's not the only way. So it's helpful here and there, but when you're real, you could also be real there. When you post one time a month, it's okay. When you do it 10 times a day, you know, I hate it. It's for me, it's I don't like it. but I do it because it's a communication. So I tell what I want. If I don't want to tell it, I don't do it. Because some people say, oh, you could tell more. You could do more of this. You could reach more people, and you could whatever you could blow up more your career when you're telling more and whatever. Yeah, but it's not me. You know, I do speak with what I'm doing. You know, through what I'm doing, through music, through live sets, and through stuff we're doing now. And yeah.
How this is a question I really like to ask every artist I have on the show. Has the digital world changed music for the better or for the worse? I mean, you started in times where people were buying records, buying CDs, buying albums, and now it's almost everything is digital. Is that good or is it bad?
It's good and bad. It's good that you can reach more people on you hit one button and you reach millions of people. You know, it's out. When it's out in one territory, it's out worldwide. This is good. But the amount of productions and the amount of people who think they can produce leads to more music and more crappy sound. So I would say when I started, there was much more quality music around, because when you signed a record from a record company, it was really, they had to invest money in that. They had to produce vinyl, they had to produce CDs, they had to book a DJ promotion, and so on and so on and so on. So, and right now you sign a track without advance, without anything, you just put it out. Let's see what happens. So we have more shitty music out there than ever, but also very good music. But the good music, I think, is only a small percentage.
Could you earn as much money now as you earned back in the day?
When you're very good, you could even earn more.
Okay.
But
because
I'm not Calvin Harris. But when you talk with them, I think they earn more because they're streaming globally. Not I stream with a couple of records, but they streaming with whatever 50, 60 records big time. So then you could make a very good living out of that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some statistics here. Mammoth with you and Dimi Mike, 163 million views on YouTube. That is quite a lot.
But the most impressive thing about this number is that it has these amount of views without a video. So when you listen to the song on YouTube, you only have the cover.
So that says a lot about the music.
Right.
Yeah. Let's get to then.
But I don't produce a track like this every day. You know, it's like hold on. For me, it's like a track I did with Cheat Codes. It's for me personally. It's a much stronger record and more musical record. So I like it more. So, but you know. Doing good stuff. That's most important thing. Then it ends up in big records.
Let's talk about festivals that you've played. I mean, at the moment, it's quite hard to look forward to things like that. I'm giving away on my radio show tickets for Tomorrowland Winter, which is next year in March, and that will be the first festival for me since the pandemic really begun. So how, going back to, you played Tomorrowland, you played World Club Dome, you played the biggest festivals, South Africa, UK. What's changed for you in your mindset now in these last 24 months? It must be boring.
No, because I started with so many new things. I started again with my old label Punks. I started with my management company. I started working more closely together with Buddha Music. It's a publisher from Berlin. So I have my own edition. It's called Dial M for MOGUAI. So all the music producers out there, when they're good, please send me your stuff. We always look for great writers. So, and then I'm doing radio every week on WDR, on 1 Live. I do my podcast every week for 40 countries. Then I do MDR Sputnik, Sunshine Live. And then I started again touring in the States. And this, I'm very happy about that because, I haven't played in the US for 2 years or 2.5. Not only because of the pandemic, also because I was more focused on Europe. And now I have a new booker, a new agency, and they said, hey, come over, let's do a album tour. And we did it. It started with 3 shows, and I flew over for 3 shows. And then he said, no, we end up with 11. So you have to stay longer. So I did 11 shows all over the country. It was great. And I could even stay longer, but I came back for Christmas and being here with the family. So, yeah.
So what was the feeling like?
It wasn't boring at all.
No, but being on stage is something you like as much as producing, or is that something that you say, oh no, it's too stressy going on tour and everything, I'd rather stay home? No?
That's the best. That's the best.
So what was the feeling like then when you were in America and you were doing these 11 shows? Did you get a high? Was it like, oh, I'm back, it's great, the crowd's roaring and cheering? Yeah,
absolutely. And when you see that, how they celebrate there, I've played in San Diego, California, the park. It's a great fest, a great indoor club. It feels like, the best seasons we had here in Europe, not only before pandemic, I think ever. So they care, but not as much as here. So it was great. It was like back to life. It was amazing, really.
Where is the electric music scene heading at the moment? What's going to change in the next couple of years? What do you think? We're going to go back to deeper techno like at the beginning when you started, or is that gone forever and it's only a niche?
I think we're already there in this techno world. It started, I think, last year. I did a fun track with Kai Tresset, and it was funny that it became the most played and most heard techno tracks in 2020. But I'm not techno, but we just produce it. And first of all, I was like, okay, no, let's not bring it out because it's not my style. So this style is already there, big time, and people love it. But this is not my style. What I'm doing, like guys like Thomas Schumacher and Adam Beyer, they are the real godfathers from techno when it comes to this music. But I think this goes on like it was always. Techno never dies. But and then these whatever, then trance comes back. Now we have this whatever future rave, disco house. I think everything comes back. So when you have a good record, it doesn't matter which style it is. So when it's good, then it's good. I feel that acid is coming back big time, really acid.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
We had some good times in some very weird clubs in the UK in Manchester when I was like 17, 18, 19. We used to play acid house, and that was like, oh my God. When I think back to those days, I have to ask my mom why she let me out of the house, because that was different.
Yeah, it felt like, TB 303. It's still for me, like a e-guitar in electronic music. For sure, it's a bass line machine, but for me, it's like a e-guitar. When you play it right, it's like it has this handmade, this vintage, this indie feeling. And when you do it right, when you produce it right, like Daft Punk, Da Funk, or Hard Floor Records and whatever. So it's great. So this is one thing, but house, for sure, house is still, it's already there big time. everything.
Let's talk about the global icon, because that's something we're doing. It's building bridges and connecting people in different genres from different parts of the world. What do you think about an opportunity for new musicians, new composers, new writers to get together?
That's great when they use it. So when they use it and when they work with it, not only one time, when they really use it and be in contact, it's awesome. So yeah, I remember, when I started, there was no one. So when you want to know something, you had to buy a magazine, or you have to call someone. There were no tutorials or something. So that's great.
When I think back when I started doing radio, I have my own pirate radio station, and I bought a transmitter from a really dubiose, we say in German, a very shady guy. And I remember doing my own little radio station when I was at school, and I did it all. It was like learning by doing. What was the first kind of kit that you bought then when you started producing music? Did you spend all your pocket money and all the money you earned from the gigs just to buy studio equipment? Because now you can produce with a laptop. Back then you had to have the big machines.
I started working with Phil Fultner, and we did this Captain Future, and didn't have any money, so I brought in the money from my touring, and I bought a Roland JD 800, so a synthesizer. I bought a Akai S3000 sampler for 6,000 Deutschmark, and I extended, and it has a storage room for 8 MB, and I extended to 16 MB for another 1,000 Deutschmark, for another 500 euro, only for 8 MB. A picture on your phone has more than this. Yes. So this is how we produced Captain Future, the final, which went top 10 in Germany, and was the highest entry before the Modern Talking reunion and before the Madonna comeback. So we sold more records than them. So this shows, I don't want to say, hey, here I'm the greatest. It's more like this shows it doesn't matter how much money you have or what kind of equipment you have. When it's great, that's great. Here, old Joy Division records, they sound terrible, but this terrible sound was
great.
But this terrible sound made it so special. So
yeah. Are you happy that you grew up with the hardware machines, or would you have wished to have a laptop back then? Are you happy that you learned hands-on how to do it?
Yeah, I'm very happy I learned with hardware, and I'm very happy that I learned DJing with vinyl. Because when you talk with the really big guys, when in the EDM world, I don't want to name anyone, but they don't know how to use it. They couldn't even play. When there is no CDJ and you give them vinyl, they don't know what to do. And
so if two Technics SL1210s were on the podium, you'd say that's fine with me. Other DJs will probably say, what should I do with those old things from the museum?
Yeah, for me it would be the same. In the very beginning, I thought, okay, which record I have to organize. But after I think 10 minutes, I'm in it. So.
Right. Are things going to get back to normal, do you think? Are we going to have some good shows in Berlin, maybe in Frankfurt, in Munich, in Cologne, or is it going to take a couple of months?
Because I've been to the States the last 2 months, I felt like, okay, I'm coming back and let's do Europe for the spring. But right now I'm here and everyone is talking about this situation and how things are changing. And I think it will last longer than we wish.
I remember talking to Oliver Heldens, and that was 2020. And we were saying it's going to take 3 years, and that was back then, before it all gets back to normal. I'm not actually sure if we're going to be doing a concert or a big festival for 160,000 people in 2022. I don't know. I don't see that happening right now.
Not in Germany. I think, like I've been to Texas. I played there. I played Houston and Dallas, and there no one wears a mask.
No
one. You see, so they I think they could have these rave numbers, and because they're dealing it in a different way. I don't want to say they do it right, but they deal it in a different way. So
is it important that we in Germany and in Europe reopen the clubs and the discos? I mean, not because of, I mean, it's on the one side the pandemic, I know, but on the other side, there's going to be no clubs, discos, stage hands, crew workers, agencies. There's going to be no one left if we don't, are you like 50-50 on that one, or do you have a klare Meinung, a good my English is so bad sometimes. I've been living too long in Germany. Do you have an opinion, a solid opinion?
I think it's like it is now. There are some that will survive because they got support from the government. Some here in Germany, everyone gets support, but for most of them, it's not enough to survive because of all their expenses and so on. And I think, I don't know, but there will be. It's like a tabula rasa, It's like there will be a lot of people. They won't come back in this business, club wise and musician wise and everything. So
okay.
Too bad.
So for people that are watching right now and really love and like your music, what would you tell them today? What can you tell the people who are starting out right now in the music business? What's the most important thing you would like to give them?
I could encourage everyone out there, just do your thing, do what you like, do it as long as you have the hope, hope lasts forever. Some say, okay, hope is the last, which is dying. I think, it's only a question of time. When you really want it, it doesn't matter what it is. When you want to become a dentist or a lawyer, or if you want to become a DJ superstar, producer superstar, you have to go that way, and you have to stick to it as long as it lasts. And when you're there, it's not that you arrive it, then you have to work even harder. But that's the fun about it. So stick to what you really like, and at the end you will succeed.
It was great talking to you. I mean, you are one of the biggest in Germany, and I know you're very candid. You're very like, I know I'm not the biggest. I just like what I'm doing, but you are for me. For me, you are a really big star, and it was a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob. I appreciate that. Really.
You're welcome.